Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. And in this video, I will be reviewing and ranking the Fear Street trilogy that is currently on Netflix right now. Now, I know I'm pretty late to the party, but when am I not late? I'm always late to watching new TV shows and movies. I'm always late to everything. So I know I'm late, but because I just recently watched the movies and I'm a huge horror movie fan, I love all things horror, I felt why not make a video of me reviewing and ranking the Fear Street trilogy. So sit back, relax, and let's get to the review. And before I jump into the review and ranking, I just want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. This series was not a bad series. It was a really good series. I do agree with that. They are well loved by fans and critics alike. So my opinion is just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. This is just how I would rank the movies. But overall, great trilogy. I would definitely rewatch. First up, let's talk about 1994, which follows a group of teenagers living in Shadyside who discovered the ancient evil causing a series of brutal murders and the curse that has been on their town for over 300 years. Now, overall, I did think part one was a very solid entry into the trilogy. Definitely not my least favorite by far. We'll get to that one. But I thought part one was really good, 1994. The beginning was so solid in the mall when she's being attacked by that masked man and we don't know what's going on, and then the big reveal comes. So I thought the beginning was very strong, very solid. Towards the middle, it got kind of boring, I guess you could say. It just kind of dragged along. And then when we get back to the ending, that's when they really started picking up again and it became really good again. The three main antagonists in this one, the sack man, Jason, Friday the 13th part 2, the woman with the razor blade, and then I forget the third antagonist. Please leave a comment down below because I forget the third antagonist. But I thought they were really strong antagonists. I thought it was really good, the whole chase sequences and whatnot. The acting in this one wasn't my favorite. The main character, she was okay. But overall, I feel like part one was a very solid entry. It was a very solid beginning to like show us like what this trilogy was going to be about. So I feel like that's not a bad place to start. I feel like they did a really good job with part one and just introducing us to the Shadyside characters and like what we're really in store for with this trilogy. So I feel like the only negative thing I would say about it is how slow it got in the middle of the movie. I felt like it could have been a little better, and just some of the acting just seemed over the top and like overly dramatic. But other than that, still a very good watch. I still recommend it to people. I think that was a really good like beginning, like a really good opener to like just introduce us to this. Now, I'm not a 90s kid. I was born in 2000. But for some reason, I still have a lot of nostalgia for the 90s. I guess it can't be nostalgia because I wasn't alive during then. But I really do love the 90s. I love the movies, the music, the TV shows, everything. Now, while I know it compares, like it doesn't compare to people who actually grew up in that era and actually experienced the 90s firsthand, I know it does not compare to that. But when I look at old things and look at old movies and whatnot, I start to feel a little like, oh, I wish I was there. So I will say that this entry does give me Scream vibes. And I think I see a pattern in here because each trilogy reminds me of some type of movie around that era. So I will say that this movie does give me Scream vibes, and Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time. So I liked it for that reason the most, because it just gave me that vibe. So solid entry. Next up, we have part 2, 1978. This follows a group of teenage campers at Camp Nightwing when all of a sudden a Shadysider gets possessed with the urge to kill. Okay, so this entry is actually my favorite. I love part 2, 1978. This is my favorite one. I hope you agree with me. Please agree with me. But even though this one took place in 1978, it did give me Friday the 13th vibes with the camp and the camp counselors and whatnot. So it definitely gave me Friday the 13th vibes. Now, as I said in the previous one, Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time. Not Friday the 13th, but just that feeling, just that ambience of Friday the 13th really just makes me happy. You know, I just love seeing stuff like that. So I will say that this one is my favorite. I think the acting was phenomenal. I think the plot was great. The pace was great. Just seeing the dynamic between the Shady Sider and then the Sunnyvale person, and like seeing where they both come from and how they can connect. And then it really starts to pick up when they go into the woods and disturb that woman's grave. I just really enjoyed this second entry. I feel like out of all three, if I were to rewatch one, it would definitely be the second one. I really don't have anything negative to say about the second part. It's just, it was a great overall. 10 out of 10 for me, if I'm being completely honest. 10 out of 10 for me. And lastly, we have part 3, 1666. This part just basically shows the origin story of Sarah Fair. And lastly, we have the third part, 1666. Now, this one gave me very The Witch vibe, but they were trying to pay homage to The Witch. Now, y'all are gonna crucify me. I did not like The Witch. I know. I did not like The Witch. I just could not get into it. So because this entry reminded me of The Witch and gave me that type of vibe, I just wasn't feeling it. Not to say that it's bad or it's just like a really horrible entry. Like, no, it is my least favorite out of the three, obviously. But I just could not get into it. I'm not a huge period piece person, if I'm being honest. I don't hate period pieces. There are some that I do enjoy. I don't hate all period pieces, but it's definitely not my go-to. It's definitely not my thing that I just put on when I want to watch a movie. I'm not a period piece person. So with that being said, this definitely is not a horrible entry by any means. This is a part 2 to 1994, which was a little confusing for me. And I didn't like how they used the same actress in part 1 to play Sarah Fair in the last part, because it just got all confusing for me. So maybe I'm just too dumb to like grasp this, but it definitely was my least favorite entry of the series. But like I said, by far not the worst thing I've ever seen. If I were to rewatch these three, I could rewatch it. I could, but definitely not something I would just put on, you know, just to watch. Like I said, that would be part 2, 1978. That one I would put on just to watch. So that was my review of the 3 movies in the Fear Street trilogy. It was very short, very cute, simple, to the point. You know, I like to make it to the point. So that was the review. So now we're gonna go on to the ranking. Okay, now we're at the ranking, which should not be a surprise to you guys. You probably know what my ranking is already. So let's just get to it. In first place, we have part 2, 1978. We saw that coming. You saw that coming. The whole world saw that coming. In second place, we have part 1, 1994. And obviously, last place, we have part 3, 1666. And lastly, I just want to give my final thoughts on this trilogy. Overall, a great trilogy. Overall, great rewatchability. I would definitely rewatch this. I would. Like I said, obviously, I like the second part a little more than the other two. But, I mean, they're not bad entries. They're not bad movies. I definitely would rewatch it. I think they did a great job at bringing to life the R.L. Stine books by the same title. I think they did a pretty phenomenal job at bringing this book to life and really engaging the viewer in these stories. So even though I don't like some of them as much as the others, I still think you should watch it. You probably already have, because like I said, I'm late to everything. But if you haven't, I definitely would recommend this trilogy to people and say, oh yeah, you should watch this. I think it's a very fun watch. And I think it would be a cool thing if you get all your friends together and y'all watch it together. I think that would be really nice. So that was just my review and ranking of the Fear Street trilogy. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.